Get in there. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel for a match reaction. It has finished. Norwich City 1, Watford 3. 3 points on the road for Watford. 3 huge points at Carrow Road. Yesterday, we're going to be talking about all of that and what this means for Watford's season. It's a huge win and a much-needed win at a point where, look, we've got Norwich, Newcastle and Leeds, and I think we need to be picking up potentially... Well, I think we need to be winning the next two. We've got to beat Norwich. I think we've got to beat Newcastle going to Leeds away, which is a tough fixture. But we've started that 3-game block with a win at Norwich away. And to discuss all of that is none other than a man who knows Sunday nights very, very well here on the channel. It's Mr. Hornet Shane. Shado.
Hello. Back again on a Sunday night after a Watford win. Are we in the championship again, eh? Brilliant. Nah, do you know what, mate? It's much needed. I think we just said that, didn't we? When we were just speaking beforehand, a much needed win. So many great. I mean, I was actually just thinking about it actually earlier on today. Like the last away game I went to was Bournemouth away, January 2020. Like, okay, I've been to away games since then, but I'm talking about like away games where there have been what we all call limbs, and that wasn't, for me at least, January 2020, because I wasn't there for Doucouré's goal against Brighton that season. So the Bournemouth game was amazing. Back in January, feels like an age ago, but yesterday was much needed, wasn't it? A tonic for all of us. Getting those goals, seeing the celebrations, just such a massive. A big team performance as well. I think a lot of people have pointed it out. Cisco coming over to the away supporters, dragging every single player, literally every single player over. You very rarely see that now. Dragging them over, giving a round of applause. I think some of the players actually gave away their shirts. I saw Ben Foster, I think, took a few pictures with some of the fans there. A really much needed win after what's been 3 difficult, really kind of unappetizing performances, really, and I guess we'll kind of talk a little bit about that today. But a huge win, and one that now we've got to use this momentum now. The next 2, as you said, are huge, aren't they? Newcastle, Leeds. The first of the triple header has been negotiated with a big win, and our front 3 look good as well in that. So, can we take this forward? Can we really, kind of start to kind of put the pressure on? Because as we saw, we spoke up. I think I know you and Sam kind of spoke about it, kind of coming into this weekend. It's one that obviously was a must win or a must not lose from our perspective. It was the same for Norwich as well, wasn't it? Really, and we're ecstatic. They're slightly concerned. I think very concerned from their point of view. And I'm so glad that we're sitting here now. We've all got smiles on our face. Everyone, I'm sure, in the chat is over the moon and is happy. That's where we want to be. We want to have more Sundays like this, happy, glad, and just generally upbeat, and not, sad and upset. And
Sundays like this, me, you, on a Sunday night, talk about a Watford win.
I know. Beautiful.
Just to jump in there, Shano. A big shout out to everyone who's watching on this Sunday evening, as Shay mentions. Great to have you in the live chat. Great to have you watching with us. Evening to everyone. Nick, big evening. Evening to you, Nick. A massive win yesterday, as Rudy says. Caroline, as we looked excellent, went on the attack. Sam Yuko, who has moved into Birmingham University today. Big shout out to Sam. Hope it all went well, mate. He's watching with Troy in Birmingham. Speaking of Troy, GT Official here says, what a day Saturday was. I got my Watford shirt signed by Troy Deeney before the Birmingham game. Watford win on stream. What a brilliant day for you, mate. I hope you had a day.
Because Birmingham were playing just down the road and stuff, weren't they? They were playing at Peterborough, I think, weren't they, yesterday?
Yeah.
That's a good opportunity. I will just say, actually, I noticed Sam's actually in the chat. I thought I'd bring a bit of trivia too tonight, or what I call Shano trivia. Because if you're all so interested, obviously, and all that. Moving in days and Watford matches. I remember mine was the 13th of September 2014. I moved in on the 14th, on the Sunday. The Saturday, the day before, I was at Charlton away. 1-0 win for Charlton. Yoni Buyens, I think his name was, got a penalty in the 3rd minute. It was Oscar Garcia's first game in charge. That's how old I am, everyone. So there we go. A little bit of trivia.
You know what? That isn't the best game, but I can certainly.
No, it's not.
The worst game. So I moved in on the 20. No, I moved on the 19th of September, and that Saturday we played Manchester City away and lost 8-0.
A 1-0 defeat at Charlton has never seemed so great ever. So.
Oh my God. If you've got any stories about your kind of Watford games and big moments, if it's your wedding day or you're kind of moving in day at uni, we'd love to hear your stories. Yeah, give us a tweet at WD18 fans on Instagram. Just to go through the comments before we get into the Norwich performance by Watford. Tom says, was your subway nice on the white journey back, Jacob? Love it. You know what? As subways go, Shano, I mean, a big thing for me is the selection. And unfortunately, Norwich train centre, train station rather, had a very limited selection. And I mean, look, the chicken teriyaki wasn't even chicken teriyaki; it was chicken with barbecue sauce on it. So look, that says all you know about the selection. Freddie, thanks for joining us in the chat. And there's some really good comments. Make sure you do get them in, and we'll fire them over to Shano in today's video. So look, Shane. Massive win for Watford, a game which I think all Watford fans were quite nervous for because it seemed for both sides it was already a 6-pointer in this Premier League season. What was the most pleasing aspect, in your opinion, about not only the result but Watford's performance yesterday at Carrow Road?
I think the best thing about it, from my perspective, was our attacking performance. You know, we talk about team performances, the real team game, or real team effort. Mate, I thought our attack, all three up front, were superb. Obviously, people will look at the score, they'll see who scored, and they'll think, okay, well, it was a good performance from maybe one or two individuals. And I think all three of them were superb up there. Obviously, Ismail Assar's going to get the headlines. There's a lot of focus on him yesterday, rightly so. His two goals were superb. The first one was just such a great instinctive finish, kind of running in there, getting himself on the end of that. A striker's instinct, wasn't it? The man's a winger. He was there. Josh King made the run. Ball back in there, Sarr, instinctive. Very, very instinctive. The third goal and his second of the afternoon was actually quite interesting, because I actually thought Josh King actually really should have finished that off himself. But right place, right time. Striker's instinct there again. In there, jogging on the spot, as Alan Smith says on FIFA. And he was there just to kind of knock it in. Oh, I'm so sorry I said that. In all seriousness, he was there, wasn't he? He was there jogging on the spot, and he was there to slot it in. VAR ruled that it was onside. And ultimately, he played really well. But two other players were in that attack. Emmanuel Dennis, superb finish for his goal. That's a superb header. Great goal celebration. Was a bit nervous that he might injure himself by doing those backflips, but the man's got the mentality of an Olympic diver.
Did you see the picture of the Norwich fan basically giving?
Yeah, I did. Now that is something that belongs in the Louvre. I'm telling you now, that is just it's one of those things. It's one of those things, right? Whereby how a sea of Norwich fans, you just find this one guy who's so angry the whole situation. Even better as well, it was halfway through one of his brilliant. If people haven't seen that, we should honestly open up a Watford FC art gallery somewhere and just display great moments from our history through the eyes of the fans. And that's probably number one.
I'm going to find that picture now on the stream. But sorry, Shane, I jumped in there, mate. What were you saying about in terms of Dennis, King, Sarr, all linked up really well?
It as I said, was a very polished performance from them. As I say, Dennis got his goal. I think it will bring him a lot of confidence as well. Josh King is someone who I think has been in need of a lot of confidence. All right, he didn't score. His link-up play I thought was superb. He was making those runs in there. Let's be clear, the man got 2 assists. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was 2 assists. I think it would have gone down as for both of Sarr's goals. And everyone in the front three kind of did their job really well. Sarr, superb, finishing it all off. Dennis getting his goal, King playing a big part. And I think, I'm one of those people that I've been a bit harsh. I am quite harsh on our strikers anyway, as people will know. But I feel like this is the big confidence push now that he needs. You know what? He is a part of this team. He does have a position in this attack. But we've obviously got to say one thing here. He did start the game. It'll be interesting to see how things kind of potentially move on and progress as we bring back players. And obviously, when I said the word players, it's actually player in João Pedro, isn't it? Because we've still got him out. Wasn't fit for the Norwich game. A lot of people thought that he would be. He wasn't. How does he now fit into this sort of team? There are obviously two sides to it. I think the first one is, and I think some fans have pointed this out quite cynically, in that it was only Norwich. It was a team that we maybe should have beaten, and those three look better than, well, those three and their performances sum up more about our opposition than they do about them. We know how good Sarr is. We know how great Dennis is, and we are all more than aware of what Josh King can produce on his day. But it will be more about who kind of, I guess, almost makes way, because are we, if João Pedro's fit, I don't know, are we going to drop him? Is he just going to be merry on the bench, for example? I don't see that. I think João Pedro I think he's one of the first names on our team sheet, really, and it will be interesting to see how that kind of goes. But I just think, based on the front three yesterday, I thought they were superb. Our link-up play looked a lot better, I thought, from the midfield. One interesting point, actually, I do want to make, and it's not really about the attack, but it was a little bit about like the goalkeeping kind of situation. There was a lot of stuff flying around, wasn't there, before the game? Dan Batman injured, Foster coming in. I saw a couple of pictures actually after the game that showed Bachmann actually fully stripped on the bench. So I don't really know what's kind of going on. I don't know if that's a bit of code maybe for he's been dropped. Of course, Bachmann got his chance from Foster being dropped / injured. So, that was probably just very much a side story. But if you're thinking about if I'm thinking back to the original question of why did we win this game 3-1, it was because of our attack. And I think they even commented on that on Match Today. Norwich couldn't handle it. Norwich could not handle our front three. And when you give the ball to Ismaila Sarr, when Sarr is in the mood, he will score goals. He will light up any football pitch, whether it be in East Anglia, whether it be in Hertfordshire, whether it be, I don't know, on the moon. He will absolutely light up any pitch. And you know what? He once again showed his quality yesterday.
Look at this comment from Charlotte, just on the lines of Ismaila Sarr. Sarr has 3 goals already this season. He only got 5 the last time we were in the Premier League. We'll do well to hang on to him in January. And I want to kind of put a negative spin on, Ismaila's incredible starts this season, actually, because look, even when we haven't played well, Sarr's always been the bright spark, I think, when we look at the Watford performances. Even against Wolves last week, despite us not playing brilliantly, you felt Sarr was the one who could, even at the end, he was chasing down the Wolves goalkeeper, and he was really trying to set a precedent with our performances and set the intensity. But look, his output's improving. I think that season in the Championship, Shana, has really done in the world of good. And just on Charlotte's comment there, are you confident looking ahead that we'll keep hold of him until the end of the season?
I really hope we do. I tweeted this, I think, when we were I think there might have been some sort of link to him during the summer or something. And I distinctly remember saying, in order for Watford to survive, we need to keep Ismaila Sarr. He is crucial, absolutely crucial to our survival bid. For me, if we lose Sarr, I'm a little bit more worried, because for me, I've always said this, he is our superstar. He is the difference maker, right? We could have put someone else on the right-hand side yesterday, and no disrespect to that replacement, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as electric as Sarr, right? As GT official says there, his movement is fantastic. To get that first goal, that's a striker's instinct in there. To get that first goal, to be jogging on the spot for that second, yeah, he was there. He was there, and he made them pay. There is a little bit of worry, though, about his great performances, because ultimately I think it will attract attention. I just hope from our perspective that he's happy. He sees out this season. If he sees out this season, whatever happens, I think he's earned the right to leave. Because I still think, even if he doesn't have a great season this year, I still think he's going to move on potentially from Watford at the end of this year, and I think he would have deserved it. And you don't want that to be curtailed. And because, as I say, he's a key part of our team moving forward. In potentially, all right, there are games such as Norwich whereby we were looking to kind of win. In games whereby things are a little bit more narrow, could he be the difference maker? Again, games against the top side, we saw what he did to Liverpool two seasons ago, right? In games in that night, sitting there, did you expect to win that game by 3-0? No. Did I expect to see Sarr score 2 goals and absolutely rip up that Liverpool defence? No. He is our difference maker. He is the guy that is going to take any game to the opposition. Whoever starts at left back, knows they're in for a tough afternoon. Matt Target got it against Villa. It didn't work out for him last week, of course, against Wolves. I actually thought he was lacking in a bit of confidence last week in the Wolves game. A few times where I thought he maybe should have run at his left back, run at his marker. He just didn't do it. He seemed to back off. He seemed to be a little bit too intricate. There were times where I thought, just get past him and have a shot. Work out some room and have a shot. Just try and kind of imprint your presence on this game. And I just felt like he didn't do that against Wolves. But yesterday was just chalk and cheese performance.
Absolutely, Shano. And I think just moving on and linking that into some other players who played yesterday, there's definitely a correlation with Sarr's performances and Kika Feminier playing in the start.
Yeah.
And some really good comments in the section from you guys. Thank you to everyone who's watching at the minute. Please do leave a like on the video if you're enjoying and comment down below your thoughts in the live chat, or if you're watching this back, and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you go and follow Shano on socials as well. The link is in the description. So looking at Sarr, Shano and Kiko Feminier, Caroline here says, Sarr looks to have more freedom when linking up with Kiko, and Rudy also says in the comments, Danny Rose and Kiko work well in defence as well. And it kind of moves on, Shano, just in terms of the fullbacks, because it's been one position where there hasn't been maybe a lot of continuity. There's been Adam Messina playing at left back, there's been Danny Rose, we've had Ngakia, Cathcart, Kika Feminier changing at right back as well. Just how impressed were you with the two fullbacks yesterday, in not only defensively but also going forward as well?
You know what was so great about yesterday? We spoke just kind of off camera, and actually at the start of this about the whole away day limbs were back. It was also great to see Kiko Feminier back in the flesh, wasn't it? I mean, come on, let's be honest. I got slightly heart palpitations when I saw him running across. I'll tell you that much. His link-up play with Sarr was such a key feature of these sort of chats that we had on a Sunday night. The match previews, the match reactions. How many times, I think back to that game against Reading where Sarr had another electric performance. He scored twice that night, didn't he, on the Friday night? Kiko was a huge part of that. Kiko was constantly linking up. That was a little bit, maybe that was the little something that Sarr needed. He needs someone that kind of knew him as a player. That's no disrespect to Jeremy Ngakia. He's kind of been out of it, maybe been slightly frozen out a little bit. You don't know how much time that's spent working on things kind of, together. But it was fantastic to see Kiko back in that right back position. It makes it's so great, isn't it? And as you mentioned, we've had so many right backs. We've had Ngakia, we've had Cathcart, and the latter of which got some of us up in arms about it because we didn't agree with it. And Cathcart's not a natural right back. Kiko's a natural right back, and more so than that. Sometimes what he lacks defensively, he more than makes up for when he gets up the field. His link-up play with Sarr is going to be crucial. We know about it. Teams in the Championship that we've left know about it. How many Premier League teams are going to know about it? Very few. And I'll tell you why. Because on Saturday we played a team that we played in the Championship, and they couldn't deal with it. So, come on. You've got to give oppositions something different, something that they've not seen before. All right, yeah, they've seen Kiko. I'm not saying they haven't. Yeah, they've seen Sarr. Of course they have. But have they seen the two of those guys link up as prolifically as they have been? You mentioned it. Sarr's season in the Championship has benefited him massively. He looks a little bit stronger as well on the ball. I've noticed that. He's got a little bit more physical. Maybe he's been hitting the gym and it's nothing to do with the Championship. But listen, those two guys linked up so well. And it was great to see him in there. Another guy, you mentioned it, the comment earlier mentioned it, Danny Rose. Danny Rose. Oh, left back. What a ball that was to Sarr. And being totally honest, Sarr maybe should have scored that actually. But it's so great to see him. He uses, I think I even saw your tweet actually, and I am going to quote this at a risk of breaking copyright rules. You know what? Form is temporary, class is permanent. That is that's spot on. That is spot on when it comes to Danny Rose. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, a goal shot assist, no one, on that one, really. I mean, it was so right there, right? Because when I read that, I thought to myself, that's absolutely spot on. Like, Danny Rose has been much maligned when he was at Tottenham. He was much maligned by sections of our supporters base. I think, when he was kind of getting himself up to speed, is he really going to be all there? There were question marks around his attitude and all that. Oh, I mean, for me, he was just superb yesterday. I also thought he was great against Wolves as well. The one thing I love about him is, I'm going back a little bit to that Wolves game. He looked just as angry as I did where I was standing. I was pretty annoyed with the performance. He looked just as angry as I did. I've seen a few people call it like a Holebas 2.0, whereby he's just as angry with what's going on the field in front of him. A couple of times, I think, actually, in the Wolves game, where actually he got the ball, he turned, he gesticulated up the field. Come on, who wants the ball? He looked really angry with his teammates, angry with the linesman, angry with himself, probably angry with the guy who was sitting in like the fourth row at the back there. He looked annoyed, but he looked to kind of build upon that. And I think ultimately, look, when things are going our way, he was able to carve open that Norwich midfield. It's great balls being played in there. And and from my perspective, from what I've seen, what I've heard from Tottenham fans, he was a consummate professional. He was dealt a very bad hand by Tottenham, which has been very well documented. But look, he's a man on the rise, and as you said, he's a classy player, an experienced player, and I think he's going to work wonders in that left back role. I really, really do. You've got Kiko on one side, you've got Danny Rose on another side, you've got Kiko's experience as well because he's played in the Premier League. He's attack-minded. He's very attack-minded. Danny Rose, he is also attack-minded, but he's defensively, he was superb yesterday. And ultimately, we need a man at left back who can just nullify attacks down that right-hand side. And, well, he's got it in absolute spade-loads, isn't he?
Absolutely, Shano. And I think the great thing about Danny is he's putting this level of performance in. I still don't think he's at full fitness yet. I think he's a little bit off his real best fitness. But, it was a lovely moment yesterday. Obviously, Shano was there, but I think when Danny Rose acknowledged the away fans singing his name, it was arguably the loudest chant of the afternoon when everyone was saying, Danny Rose. And it actually gave me good thoughts. I was thinking about, like, what, it's early days at Watford with him, but as you mentioned, Shano, he was dealt a really bad hand at Tottenham. He was kind of frozen out with the under-23s at Spurs, and I thought he deserved that moment, actually, but to get him back to where he was and playing first-team football in the Premier League. It's a massive, massive kudos to Danny Rose, and fingers crossed he can just kick on from here and become regular first team. Just moving on to the rest of the team, Shano. One aspect which was interesting. I thought at times we maybe lost a little bit of control in there, but also regained it, particularly in the second half, was in the midfield. Lou Warren's comment section says, "What did you boys think in the midfield? I thought individually Klebs and Sissoko were good, but the balance and position was still an issue. Norwich passed through us with ease at times. I thought Cleverley was probably the best out of the three out of Klebs, Sissoko and Kutska. Cleverley was the standout. I thought he set the tone. I think that was the big boost having Tom Cleverley in there. But from your perspective, Shano, it was a little bit of a shift in the respect that Xisco Munoz went for two holding centre mids and one slightly further forward, whereas what we've seen before is Peter Etibo sitting and then Kutska and Sissoko either side, or Tom Cleverley. This time it was a little bit more defensive. What did you make of the balance of that midfield yesterday?
I think it was quite interesting, actually, because when I saw the team at about 2:00, I noticed that Etibo had actually been dropped. He'd been dropped down to the bench. Cleverley kind of came in. I know that's what Sam wanted. I think Sam was a big advocate of that in the preview, and I was a little bit surprised, mainly because I thought Xisco might actually be watching these. So that's actually a real kudos for us, But I think actually, kind of aside from it, whilst I kind of agree with that comment, I did think we were a little bit unbalanced in there, just ever so slightly. I personally, I love Clems. I really do. Aside from the thing that the club tweeted this morning about like him, and his passion and all that stuff, he just gets it, doesn't he? Like he really gets it in there. He is, and as Charlotte's put there, as I was just about to say, he is an absolute leader in that, and he does get the club. I think just kind of like a side point from that, obviously Cleverley, I know that his other half recently gave birth and everything, so he's had quite like busy and kind of off the pitch, still coming out, putting on great performances here. That kind of been easy. It's also kind of been easy for him to have not been starting these games. There are a lot of other centre mids have been started. Of course, we speak about all our centre mids. The one man we haven't mentioned, and we all thought would start, was Ozan Tufan, and he wasn't actually in the squad at all. So there's still more talent to be added to that midfield. Look, I think our midfield yesterday was okay. I think Norwich did find it a little bit too easy in there, and the reason I mentioned that is actually specifically their equalising goal was a great ball from the midfield. No one kind of intercepted it. Our defence looked half asleep, to be fair to them. And Pookie, well, you can't give him that kind of room in the box because the man's a poacher, isn't it? But the midfield is always it's going to be a contentious issue, I think, throughout the season. It's one that I think, as fans and as as supporters and all that, and as fans of certain players, we are going to generally disagree on. I personally thought Kuchka last week against Wolves looked really ponderous. Like, I thought he looked just a shadow of the man who started that game against Villa. And in some respects, I kind of came away from that game thinking, you know what, you're very lucky you had that Villa performance, because I don't see any justification for starting you next week. But he did start. He was all right. He was okay. I think our best midfielder for me personally was Cleverley, because of just everything that he offers us in there. I think we looked slightly more stable in there. I don't know what Cisco's thinking though about our midfield, and I still think, all right, we got the win today. It's like yesterday. I'm still not sure he knows our best 11. I'm still not sure he knows the combination in that midfield, and I think there's going to come a point where he'll have to just make a decision. And I don't want it to be a case of, okay, well, these three started this week. Let's drop this guy and bring in another guy. Okay, let's drop this guy now and then bring in another guy. We don't want the constant rotation. There needs to be a solid three that starts in there. I don't know who that three would be, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I feel like we're waiting for Ozan Tufan to at least start some football for us. I think he might start on Tuesday night in the the League Cup against I completely forgot the name of that competition. But it's kind of, let's see what Tufan can do. Sissoko, it's so difficult. There's so much quality in that midfield. I'm kind of leaning towards Cleverley, Sissoko, Tufan at the moment, for me. But I don't know. It's harsh on Etebo to be dropped. He's been such a key part of our midfield in the kind of like the early kind of weeks and all that. Kuchka, I've always seen Kuchka as a little bit of a backup personally, not because of quality. Age, I think, is something as well. And I think there have been a couple of matches this season. I think his age has shown a little bit. He looks good in that midfield. I thought he looked really good against Tottenham in that midfield. Wolves was off it. Aston Villa, great. Up, down at the moment, really. We're kind of plotting out that in some sort of way. I've always seen kind of Kuchka as a far more advanced, far more accomplished midfielder than, say, the other guy who we've got in midfield in Dan Gosling, who everyone has amazingly forgotten about because he's still at the club. I think he's actually ill. I think Kuchka is almost certainly on the bench, coming on, ready to make an impact. It's difficult, though. I think if I was to pick a midfield for next Saturday against Newcastle, it would be Cleverley, Sissoko and Tufan, if Tufan can actually play. Yeah, I think I've seen so many combinations on that. It ultimately depends, though, on Tufan. Is he match fit? Is he going to play on Tuesday? Will he get minutes, etc.? He shed a lot of weight, though. I will say that. I think he's been working with some sort of strengthening coach or something, isn't he?
Just to jump in there, Shano. So I think it was Adam Leventhal actually by the Athletic who mentioned that before Tufan joined Watford, he was training at Udinese and lost a stone in weight from that regime. So this is a guy who I think we've got to be patient with, similar to Imran Louza. They're not going to just. It'll be very surprised they just came in there and straight away. Similar to be honest with Kutzka when he came in against Aston Villa, I was a little bit surprised of how quickly he got into the game. Yeah. Whereas I think with Ozan Tufan and Louza, from what I've seen, I think it'll take a little bit more time for them to bed in. But just on Kutzka, actually, he raised an interesting point. I was having this discussion with a fan the other day. I think there's two parts to it. On the one hand, I agree with you, Shano. I think he's in the squad to be a rotation player, in fairness. He's 34 years of age. He's a man of incredible experience, playing for Slovakia over 80 times in a midfield with Marek Hamsik. So he's got real pedigree. But I think it's a player that we can't be relying on week in, week out in 38 games or more this season, providing in the cup competitions. I think there's two parts to it. On the one hand, I think, as you mentioned, his Aston Villa debut was that good that he set the bar so high. Anything below that we're comparing it to that performance. And I also think the second thing is, it was his performance against Villa was almost a case of. I got the impression with Kutzke, he's quite a combative midfielder and plays on the edge and plays with that adrenaline. And I think with it being his debut in a new league, he, in kind of reinforcing that further point, he set the bar there that it's going to take time for him to adapt again and then get back to that level, if you know what I mean. I think I think he probably even surprised himself about how well he did play against Villa. So I think it's almost managing his games and managing our expectations of him. Would you say that's fair?
I think that's an interesting comment on Kuchka, because actually I would say that about the entire squad, if I'm honest with you, about that Villa performance, because I think that was so out of the blue. A beautiful sunny day, the fans were back, everyone was up for it. You know, that adrenaline, so many players have spoken about it. I think, you know, so many of our players, Kleb, Trusticon, Troy, when he was here as well, spoke about how dull it was without fans in the stadium, how much they really wanted them back. I think that kind of applied to everyone. I think, not to say we got lucky, it's absolutely not. We absolutely bossed Villa out of Hertfordshire with that performance. I mean, amazing as it was. But I think there was a lot of confidence that a lot of players took from that. Dennis in particular, Saar. I mean, the link-up play between those guys was great. Similar kind of attack-minded performance that we saw yesterday. So Kuchka's a very interesting one. I still see him as a rotational player. That's not to say he's going to be consigned to the subs bench every single week. It's a long season. We are obviously forgetting AFCON in all of this. You know, Atibo's going to be heading off for that. That means we're going to be one man light. And then Lucer as well is going to be heading off for that as well. I mean, I've not even mentioned him. So there will be opportunities for Kuchka. There'll be opportunities for him, I'm sure, in the cup competitions, rotation, injuries as well. You know, this is a Premier League season. We will have to deal with problems that kind of happen as it kind of goes on. But he's definitely an option in there. And I think his first performance against Villa kind of elevated him up the kind of up that pecking order a little bit, hasn't he? You know, I think maybe when he came in, he may have seen himself slightly lower, but I think he's definitely up there. I think he's probably fourth on that list. If you have three others in front of him, that I'm sure is going to change. You know, it's a very long season, and we're only in the middle of September, so I'm sure he'll have plenty more chances. But as I say, our midfield looked good. Sissoko is someone who oozes class in there. I looked at him and I thought, you know, I was a little bit concerned. You come from a side who will probably finish inside the top 6, top 8 this season. Coming from a side that might finish inside the bottom 6, you know, we're being really honest. Why have you kind of made that transition? But he's a statement of intent, I think, from us to sign someone of his qualities, know-how, alongside other things such as, you know, like his obvious leadership skills and everything. He just adds a little bit of quality to that midfield. I've been really impressed by what I've seen from him so far as well.
Yeah, agreed, Shane. I really do like the look of Moussa Sissoko. And there was a good moment yesterday, pardon me, where Sissoko kind of air kicked the ball, didn't he? And, ultimately, it led to I think it led to our second goal. So that was good. Shane, just before we move on, I wanted to give a shout out actually to William Troost-Ekong yesterday. I thought his work went unnoticed actually, in the respect that I think he's another player who gets the DNA of Watford Football Club. We mentioned that a lot of times, but one aspect of his game that I've been kind of a little bit worried about is his distribution. And I thought yesterday it really did improve. There was a couple of times he played some lovely cross-field balls over to Emmanuel Dennis, that Nigerian link-up between the two. And then obviously just him bringing it out the back as well. I think when Cathcart, let's be honest, was probably the worst player for us, I thought he looked quite shaky at times. William Troost-Ekong really did step up, I thought, yesterday, at a time when we needed him most, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'd absolutely agree with that. I think Troost-Ekong I wouldn't say he was entirely to blame. In fact, I don't think he was to blame for the Wolves' defeat. I think his defensive partner, God bless him, Sirialta, probably thought he had the week off last weekend and found out that he was playing, and it wasn't a great performance, obviously, from him and from that kind of perspective. I don't actually know. Can you correct me? Why wasn't Sirialta playing yesterday? Was it injury or?
I have not seen anything, Shano, to suggest it was injury. So, and I think the club would have made it clear that it was an injury if it was. You know what I mean? Look, Daniel Bachmann, from what we were reading from The Athletic, was injured, but he was on the bench with a knee brace on. So, could this be
he was fully stripped as well. Yeah.
Could it be maybe?
He was in full goalie kit and everything as well. I don't know. I found that weird. But back onto Troost-Ekong, his distribution was superb yesterday, much more improved. And I think ultimately, look, he's a key part of our team, a key leader, a definite starter. I think Rooney's put there. I think he is one of our first choice centre-backs in there. It's an interesting comment as well. I think someone made, he does get this football club. He's one of those players that does get the club. Cleverly, I think, is in that bracket as well. You know, his father-in-law's a season ticket holder. He's an instant winner in my book anyway, because, you know, obviously, I mean, why wouldn't he be? Duh. You know, come on. I mean, I don't need to spell that one out. But no, listen, I thought he was great back there yesterday. I agree with you. Cathcart looked shaky. I like Cathcart. I really do. I like him as a person. He's been a loyal servant to us. Similar to Troy, he was one of like the very last people to kind of be involved in like a promotion push with us. You know, wasn't he? And, you know, Troy departed to, well, from my perspective, tear-filled eyes. But
just to jump in there, do you feel Cathcart's falling into the Mariappa situation a little bit, where we're potentially a little bit too over-reliant on him, and because of what he's done for the club before?
Yeah, it's very interesting you say that. I've seen a few people mention that actually, and I do agree with that quite a bit. Mariappa was brought in to plug a hole. He did more than plug a hole for that season. You know, was it 16-17? I think it might have been. Possibly 17-18 as well. I think there were a lot of injuries in the back line. I think Yunus Kabul got injured, and a bunch of other players that we must reminisce on someday got injured and everything, and he filled the gap fantastically well. He was superb. You know, I don't like to call him Mr. Watford, but he's a local lad. Came up through the academy, loves the football club and everything. Ultimately, though, with Maps in our relegation season, I felt like he was off the pace. He was shoehorned into so many different positions. The West Ham game was one, I think, prime example. I think he came on in that second half. He didn't know what was going on. And I kind of thought to myself, Maps and Craig Cathcart have been fantastic servants for us, but they're two lads who were playing in our back line in 2011 when we were playing Scunthorpe or something. You know what I mean? Come on. It's time to move on. You know, as much as I'm very reminiscent, and as much as I saw a 16-year-old me enjoyed seeing that performance back in 2011, it's times have really kind of moved on now, but he'll always give 100% for the football club, you know, and I think that kind of goes for the fans as well. You know, whenever he puts on the yellow shirt, we give him our backing. We give him our backing 100%. I think times have kind of moved on a little bit now, and I feel like that's the one area, as I think I kind of said, we needed to strengthen. It's the one area I think we may be slightly lacking in. If there's an injury at centre back, if Trusticon goes to AFCON and doesn't come back for whatever reason, you know, he gets an injury or something, or Sirialta gets an injury, like an unexplained thing that we didn't even know what was happening with him, we could be in a bit of trouble in that back line. All right, we've got Cabasele, fine, I get it. We've got Matthew Pollock out on loan. It's a very shaky area, you know. Yeah, and Harry's right. Yeah, I would go Cabasele over Cathcart, but Trusticon, Sirialta are the two starters. My genuine worry, aside from all the positivity that we've had, is if we get an injury in that back line. Because whilst we won yesterday and whilst we're all very happy with the performance, it could so easily be different. And I think I saw it in an earlier comment, Cathcart got turned a few times and he's just not as sharp, I think, as he once was. You know what I mean? I think in our first season back in the Prem, it was him, Prodal, Britos in that back three, and those guys kind of rotated. And I actually thought Cathcart did really well in that season. That was the last. Genuinely played loads of games, looked really solid in there. Tough for him because we had Prodal and Britos who we'd signed that season. I think we loaned out Gabriel Angela as well, didn't we? Which was a really, really weird one. I actually thought Angela would. I think that's for me is one of those, not quite extreme, but one of those Pozzos. What could have been if Angela had stayed with us that season? Another quality defender in there. Cathcart has more than been a fantastic servant for this club. My worry is we don't have any other kind of backup to that. He's a good guy to stick in for like a cup competition. I wouldn't have started him on Saturday if Sirialta was out. I'd have started Cabasele. He's the kind of guy I start on Tuesday night. You know, Saturday, third round of the FA Cup weekend at home to Aldershot Town or something. That's not to kind of like, you know, kind of be like that, but it's time for us to move on.
You start him against Stoke on Tuesday, for example, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely. But I think for me, he's fourth choice on that kind of centre-back positioning. Unfortunately, there are only 4 centre-backs in our entire team at the moment, or starting centre-backs. So
I think one aspect, Shano, in terms of the centre-back situation, is a really interesting topic, that one, because I think At the minute, we're okay in terms of numbers, but I still think potentially not bringing in a left-footed centre back might be a problem going forward, because ultimately probably the only left-footed centre back, and he's not even a centre back, that could play in that role is Adam Messina, and he's not. He's a left back, and unfortunately, and Shano, if we want to switch to a back three, which I feel at times against, like, so for example, if we were playing Norwich at home, I think switching to a 3-4-3 would be the way to go personally, to get a bit more of a kind of a hold of the game. And I don't think we'd be able to play that formation. Number one, because I think Xisco Munoz prefers the 4-3-3. It's pretty clearly he's stuck with that 4-3-3. We all know what the formation is going to be. But also at the same time, we can't really do that unless you play Messina as a left centre-back, which I wouldn't be too averse to. But at the same time, not having that option, I guess, does limit us a little bit. Sorry, mate. Do you want to? Were you going to say?
No. I was actually going to say that I kind of noticed we were in a 4-3-3 when we were attacking yesterday. I think when we were kind of off the ball and when we didn't have possession, I felt like we slightly tweaked that a little bit. I noticed. I think it might have been slightly more 4-4-2. Slightly. I'm not entirely sure about that. I don't know if anyone noticed that. I thought it was more 4-4-2, one of those 4-2-1-2 kind of formations or something like that. We tweaked that a little bit slightly. But no, look, listen, it is a worry, that centre back position. I think it's one, you can kind of feel it. I don't want to put nightmares in people's minds or anything, but it kind of reminds me of like a horror film, whereby something bad's going to happen. It's like dun 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 dun, and it comes to January and something bad happens or something. You just know. And I think the one thing that I kind of picked up on after the transfer window shut was, okay, we're a bit light in this area. I'm sure we'll dip into the free agent market. We did that with Ashraf Lazar, didn't we, last season? And Carlos Sanchez as well, yeah. And those two, well, one of those guys was quite good. The other one, okay. That's maybe why we're not dipping into the free agent market in our defence. So, I'm just surprised we've not maybe considered someone else. I think there might be someone in the back. I think someone Nkudu or someone was there maybe a link there? Someone with a very similar kind of name. You don't want to it's, and I think it's different as well in the Championship. You maybe got more games to kind of play, more games to get yourself up to speed. Premier League comes at you at a pace. You need to be on it, and if you're not on it, you're going to get found out. So we'll see how that goes.
Nick in the comments says it looked more like a 4-2-3-1 to me with Cleves in the advance. I think that's
fair enough. I wasn't that sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. Shana, one question that I've kind of seen flying about on social media, and make sure you do follow us, by the way, at WD18 fans on Twitter and Instagram, is about kind of how much do we read into this result and performance? Because on the one hand, yes, it's a brilliant away win. It's 3-1 against the relegation rivals. I've seen a lot of fans, Norwich fans rather, kind of resign themselves to relegation now. They unless there's massive changes, you think Norwich are going to be down there come the end of the season, right? And on the other hand, I've seen people saying, look, it is only Norwich. They are probably a Championship squad. We shouldn't be getting carried away with it, and let's just focus on let's kind of park this one. And Newcastle is now the focus. Where do you fall in that spectrum? Are you getting carried away, or are you kind of half glass empty with this one?
Well, it's interesting. That's actually a very good question, because whilst I'm absolutely ecstatic with the win, and I've seen so many fans very ecstatic with the win, there have been a lot of fans that have kind of been like, yeah, that's great, but come on, it is only Norwich. And I have seen quite a lot of that. In fact, a surprising amount of that, given that it was an away win. We scored 3 goals. The motto in the Premier League is to win your home games and draw your away games. Well, we did more than that yesterday. Really, it's a very interesting one, isn't it? Norwich are bottom of the table. The amount of times today, David Jones on Sky Super Sunday pointed out the table and said, pointless Norwich City. They look cut adrift, don't they? They look cut adrift now at the bottom. And that's why it was such a crucial win. We don't want to give those guys a leg up. We don't want to give a side a leg up. And I think that's why yesterday's win was so big. I'm kind of in both camps. I think it's a great win. We should absolutely celebrate it. And yeah, we should be happy. You know, we saw a great attacking performance in a game whereby we scored 3 goals. We haven't scored an away goal this season. Don't think, no. Well, we simply haven't. And to be honest with you, in the last couple of away games, Tottenham away, all right, yeah, the shape was great, but we never looked like scoring. So let's just be honest and cut to the chase on that one. Brighton away, just dreadful. Please don't get me started on that one again. You know, this was a great performance. This was a must-win game for me. For me, it's all well and good. I completely get that. But now it's Sunday evening. When the clock strikes midnight, Norwich away is consigned to my history book. And I look ahead to Saturday. All right, we've got a game in midweek. Okay, fine. Cool, it's done. All right, brilliant. Yeah, let's not get any injuries in that. Let's put out a rotated side for that. Carabao Cup. Is it a focus for us this season? Cisco said he's going to try and put out a stronger team as possible, didn't he, against Crystal Palace? I don't really know where his thinking will be for Tuesday night. Saturday is massive. We spoke about it at the start. The start of the triple header, we got to win. The Newcastle game is massive. If we've now beaten Norwich, if we go on and put in a poor performance, a Wolves-esque performance against Newcastle, I'll be livid. Why have we not built upon this momentum? These next 2, we said it, didn't we? We said it after the Wolves game. Sam said it after the Wolves game. The next 2 games are huge. Let's not get too overexcited about Norwich yet. It's a great win. Yeah, it's probably confounded some of their fans to a stark realization. It doesn't really, the win for me, whilst it was great, doesn't kind of prove anything to me. It kind of confirms what I already know. Yeah. We are better than Norwich. Fine, great. I was kind of hoping that would be the case. If I'm sitting here now and we'd lost 3-1, I'd be very worried. There would be no smiles on anyone's faces because I think we'd feel like most of those Norwich fans, and quite possibly worse, knowing the task that it takes to stay up in this division and knowing that we didn't really meet the challenge the last time we got relegated from the Premier League. And so, that in mind, great win against Norwich. Let's see what happens next Saturday. If we're sitting here next Sunday and we've won, then I think we can kind of maybe start to be like, okay, all right, we're getting into a groove. Leeds away is going to be tough. Let's be quite clear. A point for those guys away at Newcastle on Friday night did absolutely nothing to help either side. But Newcastle are a good team, right? You know, just because they, got problems off the field, they seem to be a little bit disgruntled on it. I mean, come on, you've got Alan Saint-Maximin who could probably score a goal if you gave him, an empty yogurt pot on a string or something. He could. Like that goal he scored against Leeds was absolutely superb. But I can see him scoring a goal like that against us at the Vic. Like I can see him toying with our defenders. Some man sticks out a leg, he goes for the through ball, and you can see it. Big advantage for us is that they don't have Callum Wilson. I don't think he's going to be fit, and that's a huge thing because he, for me, is an absolute poacher in there. But the crucial thing for us, and I've said it many times on here before, we need to get a good start. We need to score first. Score first on Saturday. We saw it against Villa. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant because we took the game to them after that. None of this sitting back. We took the game to Villa. We thoroughly deserved the win. The thing that annoyed me about Wolves, and I know you mentioned it, I think, in the match reaction, there was a window of opportunity in about 60, 65 minutes where the game shifted momentum and we looked like a plastic bag in the sea, swept away with it. Swept away with it. All right, there were defensive problems in there. Surialta didn't have the best game. We looked a bit lost defensively, but there was a lack of communication in that back line for that game. A lack of just people shouting at each other and all of that. We let that game slip. At about 70 minutes or so before that goal was scored, before the own goal was scored, I was like, do you know what? On the balance of play, I'd probably take a point from here. And we ended up leaving there with absolutely nothing. That cannot happen. For me, we have to get the win on Saturday. A draw, honestly, for me, is not good enough. Get the win against Newcastle. Leeds, I think, is going to be a tougher game. I would, right now, if you said to me, in the international break, we go into the international break, our next 2 matches, we get 4 points, a win at Newcastle and a draw at Leeds. Very happy with that. Very happy with that. I could happily take that into the international break and be smiling into the international break. And let's be clear, once we come back from the international break, we've got some tough games. It's Liverpool at home, it's Everton away, Southampton at home. It's against Southampton yesterday showed they're no pushovers. They're going to be tough. There's no such thing as an easy game in the Premier League. But when we can pick up points, like yesterday, like next Saturday, we have beaten Newcastle before. We know what they're about. We must take them. I think that's so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely, Shano. And just kind of expanding on that. So obviously Watford have Newcastle at home next Saturday with a midweek Carrow Cup game against Stoke City, sandwiched in between. Then it's Leeds United away before the next international break in October. And then we come back after October, and obviously we're delving into this run, but it's Watford Liverpool, Everton Watford, Watford Southampton, Arsenal Watford, Watford Man United, Leicester Watford, and then Watford Chelsea. Before Watford Man City at the start of December. So if you're looking at that run, it just kind of emphasises how big the next couple of games are. And as Shane says, I'm exactly the same as you, Shane. I think if you said to me, look, would you take 4 points from Newcastle and Leeds? I'd snap your hand off there and then.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it is worth bearing in mind as well that some of the TV allocations for November haven't yet been confirmed. So some of those games in November could change. That swings momentum a little bit. You know what I'm like on here. If anyone's been a longer time subscriber, I'm very interested in when and where we're on TV because I think it has an impact. The Liverpool game at home, a lot of people have already been writing that off the November period. It makes a difference, right? If you're going into that game with some momentum, if we're coming in, if we exceed our prediction on here of 4 points, if we were to go into the international break with 2 wins, we get a win against Leeds or something, that gives huge confidence to the players going into that international break. They're able to go off, work on a few things. We obviously would have players going out on international break and might not be as much opportunity. But for those guys that stay, it's a chance for them to have a rest, come back again fit against a Liverpool side who are obviously very dangerous, but we've got results behind us. And, when we've got a very loud Vicarage Road, as it was back in February of last year, wherever it was, as the old saying goes, never back the early kickoff, whatever. We could go into those games with some sort of confidence, and I feel like that's the one thing. I've always been a little bit uncomfortable, and I've not really spoken about that November period yet. I think a lot of people have touched on it. I was very uncomfortable with people writing off that period because it's not like we've not beaten Man United before at Vicarage Road, right? It's not like we've not beaten Arsenal at the Emirates. Come on, I was there when we beat them at the Emirates. I was there when we beat them at Old Trafford, at the Vic. I was there when Zuniga scored the most unlikeliest of goals and Troy smashed in a penalty. I was there for all that. Of course I was there for all that. And, come on, we can do it. Leicester away, yeah, that's tough because we never really go, Leicester away is very much a bogey fixture for us. But again, Chelsea at home, come on. If you've been a long-time subscriber to this channel, go and look at the vlog like Jacob and I did. The 4-1 home win, come on, you were there. You were there, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there. Come on, I really didn't like the whole. Oh, that's it. 0 points. Cisco might leave, and it's all going to be really doom and gloom. Yeah, there are tough games in there. I'm not saying they're not. Come on, but we're in the Premier League. We're here to compete. Let's win the games that we feel as though we can win, and then when it comes to the big teams, turn up, pull up your shin pads, pull up your socks. Iron out your collar, whatever you do before a game, say a prayer, and just go for it. Just go for it. Come on. We don't want this doom and gloom. And I think going back onto what we're here to talk about, that's why that Norwich game yesterday was so important that we got the win. Why? Because for me, because for you, because for everyone probably watching this now, it gives us hope. It gives us hope that actually, all right, we're not amazing. We're not absolutely rubbish. We are where we need to be. Can we add to that before the October international break? We're going to find out, and I just so hope that we do.
Well said, Shano. There's calls in the live chat for an out of context Shano. The yogurt pot line's been picked up.
But to be honest with you, man, honestly, he can, with Sam Maximan, I'm really interested in what colour hairband that man wears, next week. As Bill Leslie said it, innit, on the Sky commentary, he is someone that gets people off their seats. He is the ultimate entertainer. Our biggest job next week is going to be to try and close him down. Like, as I said, we're lucky that they don't have Callum Wilson up front. They got Joe Linton. He could probably score some goals. I'm not saying that he can't. Saying Maximan is their biggest player. Everything they did on Friday night went through him. Their goal was scored by him. Every attack went through him. Every single thing. In actual fact, Leeds actually should have won that game. And that's what they'll come away from that. We need to leave it all out there on the pitch. Start early, score an early goal, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, top man, Shane. We've been going for 55 minutes, gone very, very quickly. We just wanted to, Shane, one place I wanted to wrap up on is the manager, Xisco Munoz.
Yeah.
Holly Jones in the comment section says, "You're so right, Shane. Sadly, Xisco's next defeat. Whoever it is against, everyone will blame him and call for him to be sacked to get in the experienced guy, whoever that is." Now, look, Xisco Munoz, I think I mentioned it in there. Me and myself and Sam mentioned it in the preview about, look, if he had lost against Norwich, the pressure was on for Newcastle. The pressure is still on for Newcastle, but Watford have got a degree of confidence going into Newcastle. Look, what's your take on the stuff we're seeing from some Watford fans? Again, I think it's kind of a split decision from what I've seen on Twitter. Some are saying, look, we're almost delaying the inevitable, that he will be sacked. And this is not my opinion, by the way, that some people are saying we're delaying the inevitable here with the results. And on the other hand, people are saying, look, even if we go through a bad run of form, we've got to ride the wave with Xisco. He's an inexperienced manager, getting more experience each week in the Premier League. What is your take on the Xisco Munoz situation at Watford in a minute?
I've not really spoken up about this because I'll be really honest with you. Like, I really like him. I like him as a person. You know, he's someone who came in what was such an uncertain time for us as a club. You know, we were sat here in very similar positions, actually, talking about games last season. You know, your QPR at home and your Coventry away, that pivotal spinning moment and all of that. And he kind of rode through that, didn't he? You know, he made the changes, came in and stabilised things when Ivic seemed to have shot quite a lot of people's confidence. And, you know, I'm sure there'll be light shone on that. I'm sure, you know, in the not so distant future and everything. But it's one of those things with Xisco where, like, yeah, he's inexperienced. And I've seen a few people actually say, yeah, all right, we won yesterday, great. But I think I saw someone tweet, you know, that if the opportunity comes to replace Xisco, then we should take it, kind of thing. I'm not sure. I don't know. Look, I still feel like he is inexperienced. I feel like at times, tactically, he doesn't change things up as quickly as he could do. Some of the team selections have been a little bit odd. You know, I think we've just got to say that. You know, for me, against Wolves, the thing that really annoyed me was there was no other striker on the bench bar Cucho. You put 3 centre mids on the bench. Why? I didn't really get that. You should at least have another striker on there. You had Cucho on there. Could have had someone like Ashley Fletcher on, could have brought him on, and he might have done something. He might have changed the game. There's another option in there. That's maybe that slightly negative side of Xisco. And yeah, tactically, he does, I think, need a little bit more work. But ultimately, he is a young manager. I feel like he's the kind of manager that is almost kind of like an assistant. He could do with like a main man. If he's the assistant manager, we kind of spoke about, as I remember last season, he needs like another kind of like main manager, assistant manager. The head coach role, I think, is entirely new for him. You know, I think that is just something that he's kind of slowly started to get used to. He did a good interview yesterday with Carrow Road on Match of the Day, like one of those one-on-one kind of interviews there. It was really, really good. Yeah, and I think actual fact Lineker did actually mention it, didn't he? I think even, obviously, it being Match of the Day and it being Lineker was quite crafty in the way in which he kind of worded it, being like, oh, you know what, you're kind of quite popular with the fans and everything. But what about with the board? It was something like that. It was a very tongue-in-cheek kind of everyone loves you, but the board kind of thing. And, you know, it was a bit like, okay. And I kind of saw that. I was like, okay, that was slightly inappropriate. But Xisco was quite good at laughing that off. And, you know, obviously, managers that come into this football club know the pressure, right? They know what is expected of them. I feel like the Norwich game on Saturday, yesterday's game, was crucial for him. I think if he'd lost that, confidence was starting to be zapped. I'm not even sure if he'd lost yesterday, he would have even been given the Newcastle game, to be honest with you. I think it was that much on a tightrope. I think that's maybe why the Xisco interview with Gary Lineker brought up that board element of it. There was a little bit of talk about that.
just to jump in there, Shano, even just looking at his post-match reaction, there was definitely a sense of relief. I thought it was almost a weight lifted off his shoulders. He was very. Look, when you see Cisco after some games, even the wins last season, he was happy, but there was an element of relief. I thought to his interview yesterday. Did you pick up on that?
He looked very downbeat after the Wolves won. I saw his match of the day interview for that. Obviously, we'd lost, but he looked. I kind of commented after that in my own mind. I was like, the man looks like a dead man walking. He looks like he's going to be called into the headmaster's office tomorrow morning. It looked like that kind of interview. He has turned it round. Norwich, we did so well to get the win there. I think it's a very tough one. I think ultimately though the Pozzo's kind of know. I think we kind of know the model by now. I think it's a consecutive number of defeats in a row / a drop in player kind of, morale that will kind of lead to it. It doesn't look like that's the case right now. I think the fact that Cisco dragged the players to go and say thank you to the fans, there was all of that there. They were all kind of clapping. I felt like that was a big moment. I called it a pivotal moment. Yesterday could well have been a pivotal moment for us. It could have been another Coventry away from last season where things kind of turn, but it turns with a great performance. Ultimately, time will tell, right? And I think the one good thing about what we do on here is that we are brutally honest about things. If we lose the next 2 games and it's not a great performance, do you see him going in the international break? Maybe you do. And I think if the club maybe look at maybe the Norwich game, the Newcastle game as the big 2. All right, you've won 1 game, fine. You've lost the other one. They've not been a great performance. Leads away, we go on and we lose that game. Then where do we go from there? Do the club, it's a bit like watching like a motor race, really, isn't it, in some respects? Do the club take a gamble on the strategy and say, right, that's it. It's time to get him out and time to bring in someone new? Or do they carry on? The October international break is the perfect time for that to happen. And it could easily happen in that period, couldn't it? If we lose the next 2. I don't think we will. But you never know with Watford. And, we've this is now our 5th season doing this. And how many times, I was actually calculating this the other day. It's 5 seasons of this channel. We've had 8 managers in that time. How many times have we been, I know, it shocked me as well, right? But how many times in our first season with Marco Silva in charge, Leicester away, come home, wake up the next morning, someone's gone, Okay, it's Javi. This time Javi's left in the September international break, and we brought in Quique Sanchez Flores. I was doing an Instagram live. I thought there were people trolling me in the chat or something. Yeah, Flores is back. Oh yeah, really funny. Yeah, good one. Yeah, cool guys. Yeah. No, really it is. And then I think it was live to Robin, and Robin was like, "Oh yeah, it is." And he showed me the club's tweet. I was like, "Okay, wow, I didn't expect that." Southampton away, Flores' last game. Mullins comes in again. Mullins looks like a fish that's been put into like a tiger enclosure or something. Like he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't see a safe haven. I don't know what it is that he's supposed to do. Pearson comes in, galvanizes everything. Rumours going in, last 2 games of the season, Pearson's gone. 2 hours later, Pearson's gone. Right. And then it's Mullins again. Hey! I've seen you before. Like,
Shano,
so used to it.
Did you see on 5 Live the
yes,
Chris Sutton
Day.
And Statman Day, and it was basically, we'll save this for another day. But I did it with a few fans on the train yesterday to Norwich. I did it with Sam actually on the way there, and I said, "Can you name the 26 Watford managers since Graham Taylor left the club in 1987?" Obviously, Graham Taylor did come back to Watford, so that's one. But that is definitely a pub question. Look, if you're ever awkward, whether you're on a date or it's a family member you haven't seen in a while, chuck this one into the mix, and you probably spend 10 to 15 minutes on it. It's 26.
Oh my god, honestly, I actually saw that clip. Right, it was Chris Stark, right, and I thought it was a bit unfair, personally. He couldn't name Slavica Jokanovic. He knows him as Slav. I think that was a bit harsh. I think I know him as Slav, obviously. But, it was just... Chris Sutton looked genuinely stumped, didn't he? And then he just came out with Marco Silva. It was almost like a yes kind of moment. But it's a great... I mean, I say great names in there. He mentioned the likes of Billy McKinley, who he actually used to room share with when he was playing for Scotland. I mean, that's how long ago that goes back. and all of that. Oh, it is mad. I'm back onto Cisco. We know how this works, right? I've kind of taught myself down the years, with so many great managers that we've had, the likes of Zola and Slav, and with Javi as well. Don't get too attached, because the model here is very much, right, you've come in, you've done a job for us, thank you very much for your services, but we're going to move on. Stav had it as well. Stav was one of the managers that I thought we're actually going to keep him in the Premier League. He's going to get a season in the Prem. Didn't work out. Flores gets us survival. Thank you very much. Off you go. Sorry. Oh, you're lucky there, mate. Thank you very much. And off you go. Javi got us to an FA Cup on a great. You're going to see us into a next season. Not working out. Sorry, mate. Goodbye. Yeah. Thank you. Next. Thank you. Next. Thank you. Next. It is just that way of doing it. It has worked out for us. Let's just be honest. It has, right? And I don't like this whole thing. Oh, Watford and their managers and all that. We kind of get smacked with that, that rod quite a lot. I think it's quite unfair. We ultimately know what will happen. If we lose the next two, there is a chance with the October international break going that the Potters will, in the nicest possible way, pull the trigger, right? And we just know that. I hope it doesn't come to that. I think Cisco will be given the time. I feel like the next two games are big. I feel like he's got the confidence, though, with the team. I feel like the team are playing for him. I've not always said that about other managers. Other managers, I feel like they kind of lost the dressing room. They've lost key individuals in our team, whether you agree with that or not, whether you agree with that, that's how things should be. That's just how it was. I feel like he's got the dressing room playing for him. I feel like he's someone who's come in there. He's harnessed such a positive attitude. Can he now take that? Can we now take that confidence into our next two? If we can, happy days. And we see in the rest of October, and he comes through November, however it is. Some fans have already said to me, look, I know this is your opinion. I think he's going to be a goner in November. Some fans have said, nah, he will see out the rest of the season. And others think he might be quite lucky to see us until Christmas. Whatever happens, let's just get behind him. We're all going to be at the Vic next week, so a handful of us are going to be going up to Carrow Road in what's going to be a difficult game. Get behind the lads. Get behind Cisco. He's a great guy. He has he does have his flaws, but then again, who doesn't, right? So get behind him, give it everything, and let's just see what happens in our next two. And ultimately, look, we could be sitting here going into an international break in a couple of weeks, smiling our heads off. It could be worse. It could be better. But ultimately, yesterday, showed a lot of Watford fans that, you know what? Yeah, there are some things in here that we already knew and we kind of hope to confirm, but we're not great. We're not terrible. We are where we need to be right now. And that's why yesterday was so massive. And let's march on to our next two games.
Shano, superb. Well said, buddy. You know what? Thank you very much to everyone who listened today and watched. It's been an absolute pleasure. Shano, you've been on fire. Some great stuff from Shano. Look, there's only one way to end it, and that's with Emmanuel Dennis doing a backflip in front of the camera.
Look at that guy.
If we just zoom into the bottom right, you can see a man who didn't take it that well.
Look at, he's so angry. He's so angry at this guy.
Brilliant. That is, you know what, Shana, that is the perfect way to end it. Thank you very much to everyone who watched today. And thank you to all the lovely comments. And if you did enjoy, please do make sure you leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to WD18. Make sure you go and follow Shano on Twitter and Instagram. At Hornet Shane on Twitter, at HShaneWD18. He's got WD18 in his app. That is a massive reason why you should go and follow him. Legend Shano, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care of yourselves, guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. We'll be back on Thursday to discuss the Stoke game and also preview Newcastle this Saturday. And of course, if you do want to just follow us and see regular Watford fan content, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at WD18 fans. Jack Norman with a great comment. Get the legend Shane on here more often.
Eating passion.
And Shane, final words, buddy.
Keep calm. Enjoy every moment of it. We are in the Premier League. We are in the greatest division in England and possibly the world, maybe. Enjoy it. Hope to see so many people, obviously, next week at the Vic. Hope to see so many of you guys up at Leeds at Carrow Road. It's going to be fantastic. Enjoy every moment. Let's ride the wave. We talk about the Zola roller coaster a lot. Well, it's Cisco's disco, and we're on a roll.
Come on. Love it, Shano. Also, finally, if you'd want to listen to this back or if you'd just rather listen to it as podcast form, we're going to be uploading these to our WD18 podcast as well. So make sure you do check that out. Take care of yourselves, guys. As I said, have a fantastic week. Shane, you have a good one, buddy.